Hi, welcome back. Hopefully you've had some time to build those other two plugins and play with the plugin architecture. We're going to pick up on our Sandbox plugins by opening a completed solution. What you'll be looking for is Sandbox Plugins Part 2. This solution has all three of the plugins already built for you. If you had any difficulties building the other two plugins, this is a good time to stop the video and look at these projects and see the patterns that we're implementing. You'll notice we have three plugins, one for each of the tables that are in our schema. Now, of course, plugins don't necessarily have to correspond one-to-one. You could write a wizard for setting up a new device, or you could have a totally different plugin that had some other functionality that wasn't database related. Anything you want can basically be added as a plugin. So let's build these and see where that takes us. Okay, we've built it, and with our copy script, we know they've copied into the AzStudio plugins directory. Let's open AzStudio and see what we have. And let's see. Great, we've got devices, device types, and device states now. Let's go ahead and add a few device states. Again, realizing that we're working in the dev database. And let's call this active and inactive. Great. So now we have some states, we have a few device types, and now we want to edit devices. Now, in here, you'll notice that we have an assigned user ID, facility ID, state ID, and device type ID. These are foreign keys. It'd be really helpful if we had a combo box that lets us drop down and pick what we need to enter here. Turns out our plugin architecture has just the tools necessary to quickly and easily add these combo boxes. So we've opened up the Edit Devices class. And you notice this class is just filling out an arguments class and then passing it into the dialogues based data editor wrapper. This wrapper is essentially a rendering engine which takes all the information that you've put into the arguments and produces a UIX display for the user. By using the arguments class, you don't have to actually design any visual controls. This system will automatically render a screen for the user and connect it to the right database and data source automatically. The arguments class also is aware of that it's working in the Developer Express Controls library, and those control libraries have extensions. We've added several dozen extensions to make putting together a really complicated but powerful editor very, very easy. In this case, we'd like to add some combos to some of the columns in the grid. Now, whenever I work with this kind of data, I like to have the schema in front of me. We understand that the device state is stored in the device state ID in both the Sandbox device states table and the Sandbox devices table. Okay, so now that we know where the tables are and what the column names are, we can quickly bind them together using a quick add bound combo function that the args presents to you. Look for these quick add functions in your arguments class to see other ways to extend the grids. What this should do is allow us to have a bound combo in the device state column in the grid. Let's see if that actually works. I'm going to build, and then we're going to launch AzStudio. Alright, so let's open our devices editor and check to see that we have a state ID dropdown. Look at that, we do. Yay! We can now bind our combos, or our foreign keys as combos, to the visual controls. One line of code per column. So we'll quickly wire up our other three combo boxes. You'll notice that these have 4 arguments rather than 3, and that's to be used when you have a column name in the destination table that doesn't match the column name origin in the foreign key table. Now, the origin of this data is the same as the origin of the data that you're editing. In which case, if we're editing dev, then the foreign key information will be fetched from dev. If we're editing in production, the foreign key information will be surfaced from production. You can override this though. You can create a central database to hold your types and use that as your data source for certain combos, where other data can come from your current connected database. So let's build this and then open AzStudio. All right, now we're going to go over here, go to devices, and what we should see is, yay, we now have all of our drop downs working properly. Now, not only was it very easy to wire up a visual interface and to add different accoutrements to the UI controls, it also gave a uniformity into the way your editors are working, and it created intelligent editors. You weren't just creating a control to hand to DevOps or to your junior programmers or to your data entry folks that you did as a one-off. You actually created a plugin into a system that's aware of your entire PaaS environment and application, including the security controls and the data sources for this information. Besides taking your configuration information and centralizing it in a database that's both secure and managed, AzStudio presents a controls or a features repository that you can uniformly upgrade and add to throughout your entire enterprise. Anybody can write plugins for these things, and anybody can assign the plugin IDs to certain roles. Distributing these new pieces of data or these new add-ons is no more complicated than handing a few DLLs to the different users. And the same goes for upgrading. You just hand out another DLL into a centralized area and have people pull them to your AzStudio plugins repository. That's it. So your entire enterprise can now centralize on one place to manage all of your plugins for all of your applications across your entire PaaS surface area. Among other things that you can extend through the arguments class are the different tools that you'd like to expose to the user. Chart tools are already embedded into your grid and into your data. If you have data that lends itself to charting and graphing and reporting, well, we've got it all here ready to go, including tools to allow you to print and export your data. We have tools to allow you to manage your views. You can set your grids up any way you want so that these views can become mini reports. For instance, if I were to, group it by user ID and have a listing of devices by user, I could save this as a view and say, devices by user. Make it public, and then anybody who has access to this view can see and arrange the data in this manner by just clicking a button or two. This is really powerful when you need to create some ad hoc reports or ad hoc graphs. This tool is built in. All you have to do is add a plugin, bind it to some data. It doesn't necessarily have to be one table. It can be a complex query. It can even ask for information from the user and then use those as filters. And you can build your own charts, your own reports. You can save your charts to the cloud. You can pull them back down. You can print. You can export them. You can export them as images, and you can design things pretty much in a limitless fashion on each view. The takeaway is that your plugin system is more than just a simple plugin system. It's a way to normalize the way you handle data within your PaaS architecture so that you get the same benefit from everything, and everybody gets the same control set. And it doesn't matter what your application is, how many web services you have, or how much schema you have. These controls will bind to the resources in different environments and allow you to move very rapidly when it comes to editing data and presenting that data. Among some of the features that plugins allow you to exploit are the ability to add ribbon controls in runtime, the ability to expose themselves as ribbon controls in other plugins, the ability to discover each other, the ability to communicate with one another. That is, one plugin can send a message and object to another plugin, even if that plugin isn't currently running. Plugins can be remotely invoked through other processes. For instance, a task which plugins can register themselves for and express themselves as plain English task-oriented launchers instead of tile-oriented launchers. Processes, which are JSON descriptions of multiple tiles that can link together. And of course, programmatically through either a view or through C# code. Additionally, one of the more powerful features that comes with every plugin you write is the fact that it has a PowerShell extension bound to it when it's created. This PowerShell extension allows you to create scripts and store them against the same security permissions as the plugin itself. That is, you can only view these PowerShell extensions through the context of the particular plugin or tile. This means that you can create a PowerShell library oriented around something that you're already editing, or maybe some resources that you're already managing, and keep that library in the cloud, locked down, but ready to execute whenever a user who has access fetches the script and brings it down. Since tiles can be invoked automatically, and their PowerShell extensions can be invoked automatically, assuming that you have the correct rights, it's possible to create processes which then chain together sets of PowerShell scripts that you've already created in your visual controls. The PowerScript execution engine is also aware of the environment it's executing in. That is, it knows what environment, what your primary data connection is, and what environment name you're trying to emulate or trying to access from within the PowerShell script. This allows you to execute a chain of scripts against the dev environment, and then once again against the production environment, and you could change application type on the fly as well. This gives you tremendous power to automate not only the data entry and the data management of your application, but also things like deployment, analysis, management, scaling, anything that you can think of and can do within PowerShell or ARM scripting. Also included in the basic device or plugin architecture are tools. And some of these tools are very useful. For instance, code generators. You can definitely generate an enumeration around your different values, and place these in C# classes, and then maintain consistency between the GUIDs in your database and the enumerations in your C# code. And we pretty much write that code for you automatically. That's just one of the small tools that are already embedded in your product as soon as you start using the plugin architecture. Covering the entire plugin's API is well beyond the scope of this sandbox demonstration. But if you examine the IntelliSense, use our help files, you'll find that you can discover quite a bit more functionality that's embedded in this unified system. Thanks for watching.